LCSC students of medieval history. Welcome to the class. Hope you had a wonderful break and are ready to get to it. Yeah, and welcome to my office at home, right? Some of us have fancier home offices than others. Um, I am Professor Eric Martin. I've been here at Lewis Clark State College for 20 something years in the history department. Based on my roll sheets, I think I've got a few of y'all have had me for classes before, which is good. So that way some of y'all at least know what you're getting into. And it also gives those of you who don't know what you're getting into um, some folks you can talk with. And I'm going to try to keep this video short. I don't know how short it's going to be, though, realistically, because I want to kind of introduce you to some issues or to the class, but there's some issues with the class. And let's talk about that. And the issue with the class is pretty simple. It goes like this. I taught this class as a face-to-face class, and then like one time, maybe two times, and then was asked to teach it again as a virtual remote class through Zoom during the pandemic, which was fun, and then was asked again to switch it up for a totally online class. And so here's the deal, and some of y'all, may or may not know this, but even if the books are the same and the content is the same, when you keep switching it up in the face to face format, and you go to the virtual and then you go to the online, some of the tricks don't work. So what happened to me as I was sketching this class out is the way I taught it the last couple of times, sort of like the way the syllabus is, like to give you the syllabus as is, I think it's going to be overwhelming for both of us, right? So the syllabus is in a semi draft form. I'll tell you what I mean as we get into that. But what I'm trying to do is to reduce a few things, and I got a couple of ambiguous things in there because I need a group of students to give me some feedback as we go that no, this is fine, it's all good, or because I don't want us to all be underwater like by week two. So that's what I mean by ambiguity. Okay, I know what we're doing, I know where it's going. I have questions about how hard to march us in order to get us there at which particular weeks. We'll talk about that. Um, but the course is cool. Let's talk. The medieval history stuff is cool. There's going to be some level of medieval Europe. There's going to be a lot of the bigger world, and then you're going to have your own thing. So that is kind of the way the course is thought about. Um, let's actually talk a little bit about the syllabus as opposed to the website, which in the 2025 they're kind of hard to tell the difference between. But this first part here, it's an asynchronous online class. We don't have class meetings, but it is not go at your own pace. We have weekly deadlines to keep up with. Okay, so you guys keep up with those weekly deadlines. Now, for those of y'all who are like, oh, I love that kind of thing because I like to get ahead, yeah, not so much. I got it set up for the next 2 weeks. In another day or two, I'll have the third week. By the weekend, I'll have the fourth and maybe the fifth week. But I'm going to be a few weeks ahead of y'all as I kind of gauge things. And then I have the last week set up. I'll show you that in a second. Okay, syllabus. Like I said, I'm not going to go through each and everything on the syllabus. Um, you need to get a hold of me. The easiest thing to do is to send me an email through the Canvas inbox and try to pop into my Zoom office. I love holding court in Zoom. Super easy. I'm on campus, Office 315. If you're on campus, I can't make this only show me. Phone number, borderline useless. However, let me back up. Phone line, borderline useless for me to pick up. It'll send me a voicemail to my phone, so I'll hear that you got a hold of me. But I like using the inbox. I like some face to face communication with the Zoom setup. The course itself is going to be student research oriented, so we're going to do a bunch of stuff together. But you're going to have your own supervised project. I'll show you what we mean by that. But the class is mostly going to be discussing our readings and videos and materials, and that's that. I don't assume you really have had any other history courses before. Let's talk about the required readings. There's 3 required readings for the course. You need to get them right away. Okay? Required reading number 1 is Valerie Hanson's book, The Year 1000. It is a really cool book. It is an easy book to read that basically makes an argument that there's something going on in the year 1000 that's important for world history. And then takes a look at the Vikings, the Maya, what's happening kind of in that Caspian Sea region, northeastern Europe, what's happening in West Africa, what's happening in Central Asia. So it gives us a tour of the world. So kind of what I'm thinking is I wish we could crank through this book as fast as possible, because I think this book is going to give you guys some ideas about other research you might want to do, kind of expanding your mind beyond, medieval history as, European damsels and knights and peasants. And that stuff is cool, don't get me wrong, but there's a lot of other really cool stuff going on too. And she gets into it. So this is the first book we're going to use, and we're going to get into it right away, week 2. You need to get a hold of it. We're going to just start reading and going through it. The next book we're going to use is even easier to read. It's by a medieval historian, Eleanor Yaniga, and it's called The Middle Ages: A Graphic History. Now, for some of y'all who are like, oh man, I don't want to read, a comic book, it's a different kind of read. But the thing that I really love about this book is that she focuses on Europe, and I know some of y'all prefer that. She focuses on Europe, and she breaks down the European time frame in terms of like, what do the Middle Ages look like from the European perspective, and then she gives just the main events, right? The main events. So this is a really good book, and it takes you can read it in 1 or 2 settings. It's not long. This would be a really good book, again, to get sort of like the timeline and ideas about what you want to do. And part of the thing is that, between these 2 books together, maybe you find stuff you didn't know about that you want to learn about. Okay? So neither of these books are expensive. You need to get them right away. The third book you can get for free at the library, and it might look familiar to a few of y'all. It's Worlds of History, Volume 1. That's right, the book that we use. If you took History 101 from me, we used this book. We're going to use it again in this class. If you remember from History 101, we skipped a few chapters. And what I would like to do in this class, instead of assigning you additional readings, to go back and do some of that stuff that we typically skip. All right. So, and I'm going to use that as kind of a gap filler. I don't have this written in the syllabus yet in terms of like the schedule, but where there's like to be announces and stuff, that's where I've deleted other books and other assignments, and I'm going to include stuff from here. It's a fun book. It's got different kinds of sources, and again, we'll give you guys different ideas about what the medieval world looked like. Okay, the rest of these readings, you know what these really are? These are readings that I've used in the past. They're suggested if you're into it, but it's not like you need to go out and get this stuff. Grading and evaluation. This is where I've struggled the most with this class in terms of trying to figure out how the grading for the face-to-face class and the virtual class do or do not translate to the online class. Again, you just have to trust me on this, or maybe contact a few of the other students who've had me for things. If you had me for the African history course, you've already been through this once, where transferring into the asynchronous online, it's a different game. And I'm just trying to figure out how not to, on day one, set us up for stress. So here's what we're doing. 30%, really it's 100%, right? But 30% of the class is based on class participation. I want to see you in the discussion boards convincing me you read. If you can get in the discussion boards and convince me you're doing the readings, to convince me that you're doing the videos, watching the videos, and it's you, not a robot. I'll say some more about AI use in a minute. You give me so much to work with, okay? I want to see you in the discussion boards talking about history. That's my main goal. My main goal is to help students figure out history is cool, history is important, talk about it with each other. If we can do that, we'll declare victory. However, it's not always just the carrot, right? Sometimes you need the stick. So we've got a couple of book analyses that you're going to do. So in addition to talking about the year 1000, you're going to write a book analysis. This is not a book report and it is not a book summary. I've got a special thing for it. I'll show you a little bit later. You're going to use your brain in some analysis. Okay? I'm going to skip the 30% research assignments projects. I'll come back to it. Okay? 20% end of term essay. That end of term essay is already up in A form. We'll develop it a little further as a group. For those of y'all who've had me for any upper division history course already, it ought to sound familiar. I'll show it to you in a minute. But basically, a game I like to play goes something like this. Here, where's the camera? Here are the readings that we've done together. You pick a couple of additional ones on a topic of your choice. And now let's talk about what we learned about the medieval period. So it's not entirely a research paper, but it kind of is, right? And part of the encouragement there is to get you thinking about what have we learned, you know, once we put all the videos together, all the discussions together. Now, this gets us to the 30% of the research and assigned projects thing. You're going to need to pick out at least 2 books on some topic you're interested in that I will approve connected to the medieval period. You're into Mongols, have a ball. You're into China stuff, have a ball. You're into the Maya, have a ball. You're into medieval Europe, and you want to look at that, have a ball. Whatever it is you want. So we're going to spend some time with the making a research appointment with the LCSC librarians to help you find good materials. All right, you can do that tomorrow if you want. You probably want to think about things a little bit, but that's the thing, right? You can get started on that as soon as you want. The next thing is you're going to make an annotated bibliography. You're going to start making a list of books you could choose from on your topic. Annotated bibliographies do not mean these are the books I'm going to read. It means these are the books I'm going to pick from. I'm doing some recon on books before I choose one. We'll talk a little bit about that in the future. Then you're going to write an analytical book review on one book of your choice that I will approve. And then I got this to be determined thing here, right? And what it is it says you're going to write a second analytical book review. I kind of want you to do a formal presentation. I'm trying to sort out the formal presentations. I love because you shoot them on the with the videos, and I just get better papers with a formal presentation. However, it's workload issues. I'm thinking it through. It's not coming up until after spring break. Give me a couple of weeks to think it through, kind of see how we do things. Then the end of term essay. I'll show that to you in a minute. Okay. Now, if this was a live class, I'd say any questions? You got any questions? Write them down on a piece of paper and send them to me. So, class is heavy in the class discussion front. We'll get through that a little bit more later. Same thing with projects, formal essays. Grades, it's easy enough, right? If you do what you're asked to do, nothing more, nothing less, it's a C, right? I'm sure we can do better, right? You guys can read that. Some of this stuff doesn't really seem to apply to an online class, right? So turn your cell phone off, although you should turn your cell phone off. Children in my classroom, all that kind of stuff. And then we get to the schedule. The schedule is light in terms of details because here in 2025, I got the squeakiest chair here. Here in 2025, everything's done in those modules for better or for worse, and really for worse sometimes. One more thing I want to show you on the syllabus before I change things. Yeah, see how much I like student presentations? I have them laid out here. Your guide for writing your analytical book reviews. It's at the bottom of your syllabus. So I'm going to suggest you take a good look at that. All right. And then later, you're also going to hear about a learning through discussion outline. It's also at the bottom of your syllabus. And why it's got these funky little things on it, I don't know. You can ignore this stuff. I should have deleted it. All right. That's the syllabus. Let me put the view on the student view. I don't know how much about the course outline down here I would get too worked up about beyond, yeah, okay, I guess it's about right. With the exception of this formal essay outline, you know, you're 2 years late. Your formal essay, you can click on it, get the details. We'll come back to that later, but I think you should just check it out, right? It's not a lot. Okay, what else do we need to talk about? Announcements, you'll probably get one every week, maybe two. One of the deals is if I'm going to make adjustments as we go, there needs to be good communication, all right? Modules. Let's talk about some of the modules. You guys have probably seen most of this stuff. Okay, I'm working on getting the modules together. I have left, I am only, as of this moment, I am only solid and good to go up to week 2. I have left everything in week 3 so you can see that, like, it's not totally empty. I know what's going on, but I need to convert some of that. So don't get too excited about any of this stuff, one way or the other. Just give me a chance to revise it. But and how will you know when it's ready? I'll show you how you'll know. You'll know it's ready. I'm going to click on week 2. You'll know it's ready. Ha! I haven't uploaded it yet. I've got all kinds of YouTube videos I'm working with right now. Let's do it this way. You'll know it's ready when you see a video on it that says a 7-minute video setting this week up. Okay, so I'm explaining what you should do. I shot the one for week 2 right before I started this, but it hadn't uploaded yet, so that'll be up there in a second. So you can start week 1. If you want to get into week 2, you can, but this is where the modules will be for each week. Okay. Notes by peers. I want to talk to you guys about that for a second, because that's kind of a little different thing. As you can see, I've already got your names on here. I started with the seniors and worked my way towards the freshmen. Here is the thing. I started doing a deal where students do notes for each other during the pandemic, I think, during the lockdown. It has been huge. It's really cool to get a set of notes for the whole class. It's really cool for me to see what kind of things you guys are actually learning. It's really cool for you to get an opportunity to have a little heat put on you, to post a good set of notes that other people are going to look at. And it's really cool for you to have an opportunity to look at somebody else's notes and get an idea about what, how you could be doing things. Now, here's the thing with the notes. We should all be taking notes as we read, as we do things, as we work through the materials. Okay? So it's a little bit weird, right? Because if this was like in class, it could be for the hour and 15 minutes we were in class today, I want your notes. Or I would like a version of your notes. In this particular case, it's kind of your notes for the week. Maybe you don't want to do. You should be taking notes on the videos you read. You should be taking notes on your readings. We're going to see how this works in an online class. But here's the thing with the notes. A photo is fine. If you take your notes online, a document is fine. This is mostly going to be graded as you did it or you didn't. You made effort or you didn't. Not on whether your notes are right or whether you've got a bazillion pages of notes. It should be stuff you're doing anyway. Let me show you how to post your notes. Notes by peers. Edit. Drop down to where you post some notes. I'd like to just upload the image of my notes. I took a picture of them. I'd like to upload the document. Don't forget to, it's down below me, but my picture, you can't see it. There's a spot where you can save it. Don't forget to save it, and you're all done. All right, don't freak out about it. You're just going to build a set of class notes so we can get an idea about what's going on. It's not supposed to be onerous. Week by week in the modules, as you can see, once we get to week 7, we'll see how it goes. We'll go through this one time and then we'll see how it goes. Everything down here is exactly what it says it is. It's a bit of a warehouse. There is stuff here about how I like the writing to be done. And these are just like sort of from all my classes, right? Um, Annotated bibliographies, book analysis, a whole bunch of the videos I've used in this class in the past. Let's see what else is in here. Um, Reading guide for the Middle Ages, the graphic history. Now, notice you get down here to the as some of y'all know, I like meditation. I don't know how that would work in the asynchronous online course. Some various handouts I've given out to things in the past. So this is just, handouts I've done in the past. Don't worry about it too much, but you're free to go look at it. And when I reference it, say, oh, that's down in the modules, down in that resource warehouse. That'll be down there. You want to know what's up with your formal essay? Here it is. We can go over it right now. It's pretty short. It's a formal essay. It's kind of what this whole class is going through, is going up to. But essentially, you're going to write 8 pages, all right, 2,000 words, not including your bibliography. You got to use more or less all of our course materials, plus 2 outside readings of your own. And the question goes something like this. It'll change as we add a few different materials, but the question goes, this semester we've explored medieval history through Valerie Hanson's global approach to the year 1000, Eleanor Yanaga's graphic novel focusing on Europe, and whatever we get to with the Riley readings, videos on the peasants, all the different stuff we've read. And then the general question is, what did you learn about? What did you learn about the medieval world, about the discipline of history, and about the field of history? All right, that's the main focus. And then, right down here are some potential questions. Describe, compare, and contrast the value and limitations of different kinds of approaches to studying medieval history. Write a comparative review of the sources we've utilized. Which kinds of sources tell you the most about medieval history? Make an argument for the value of studying medieval history in the 21st century. Make an argument for the value of studying medieval history through historiography. Make an argument for the value of focusing on history of gender in a medieval history course. You guys can come up with other things, right? These are just kind of the beginners. I've had people focus on the Maya, really looking at Mayan archaeology. I've had people focus on the role of women in medieval Europe. I've had people focus on the gigantic cities of the Tang Empire in China. I had somebody focus on women's fashion in China once too. That was really cool. But my point is that the reason I'm showing you this now is not to freak anybody out, is just to kind of show you this is kind of where it's all going. And so just kind of take your notes as we go. Just kind of keep in mind this is what we're going to be doing. And enjoy the ride. This is sort of the culmination at the end of, okay, what did we learn when we did all this? And we'll build up to it. But I've got the first couple of weeks and the last week, and then the stuff in between in terms of how we get there. We'll scaffold it as we go. What else do we need to talk about? All right, I want to talk about one more thing, gloom and doom wise, and then I want to come back to something happier. Gloom and doom goes like this. Academic honesty. Man, over the last 3 years or so, particularly since ChatGPT has become a thing, I've received a lot of discussion postings that were clearly written by a computer. Don't do that. All right. I would rather have your inarticulate thoughts on the readings. And I know for certain they're yours, than for you to use AI because you wanted to sound smarter. And I can't tell whether you really wrote it. Okay? We want to work on using our own brains. Okay? So it's better for this class to write something that is clean and but maybe less sophisticated than it is to go and use AI. All right? And I'm just bringing that up. It's been an issue in the past. Nobody here wants to go chit chat with VP Andy Hansen about it. All right? I don't even deal with it. I just send people on up the chain. No AI. The big dilemma with that these days is with Grammarly. So I know that like at one point in time, Grammarly was, essentially sort of spell check and things, and now it makes suggestions on how to alter things. You guys try to avoid that stuff, all right? I get it. You want it to be clean. You want it to look professional. Get it clean. Get it professional. But use that gray matter up here. You want to upgrade your gray matter because one day it may matter. All right, that's enough gloom and doom. Let's get to other things. What else should we talk about? This class is awesome. The medieval period is so cool. And one of the cool things about medieval history, to me anyway, is that there's so much of it. I mean, we could have a whole class on the Vikings. We could have a whole class on the Maya. We could have a whole class on the Mongols. We could have a whole class on the fabulous cities in China. And there's just like stuff like, I know that for me, one of the things that, I'm still like blown away by when I think about is that in Tang, China, something like, the year 700, 800, they've got all-night restaurants in some of these cities. You don't think about that. I don't think about, people, and I can't do my math right, let's call it 800 years ago, living in cities where there's like an all-night noodle house. That's crazy. And I think the medieval period is just kind of so cool to check that kind of stuff out with. Since the lockdowns, the whole study of the plague, there's been, there's actually been kind of a bit of a bipolar. I don't know if that's the right word. Two different directions. On the one hand, there's been like a whole lot of new interest in the plague and diseases and their role in history. So that's something you can do. And on the other hand, folks like me are like, yeah, you know what, man, I've had enough, disease stuff. Maybe we'll just avoid that for a while. But there's also these lessons from the past, right, that you can learn. And the interactions between folks. And you just, for me personally, like getting into the medieval period and just discovering, it's like, wow, there is a level of sophistication here that I wasn't expecting to see. And that's really cool. So anyway, this video has probably gone on a little bit long, but I wanted to introduce you to the class. Um, a couple of things, okay, and maybe I'll flip the syllabus on for this. But I wanted to introduce you to the class and to give you some assurances that despite the fact that like some of those modules don't line up with the syllabus and there's a few like to be determined here, I know what's up. I just kind of want to gauge where people are at. I don't want to make this a class where um, I want this to be a fun class. I want it to be a solid workload for an upper division history class. But I want it to be manageable and doable for everybody. Okay, so that is the reason that I am readjusting some things as we go. Now, having said all that, communication is key. All right, if you are on the LCSC campus, you are always free to come by my office, 315 Spalding Hall. Okay, I am usually on campus on Tuesdays and Thursdays. I teach at 9 a.m. and noon. How much I'm on campus before or after that kind of depends on what I got going on. However, I'm frequently there Wednesday before 11:30 if you're on the campus. And, I know that many of y'all are taking the course online for a reason. 50% of my course load is online, which means I'm not always on the campus. However, my Zoom room is right here on the syllabus. And usually when I'm working on my classes in my office here, I fire up Zoom. You can almost always count on me. You'll get more announcements and emails than you want from me. But Monday mornings and Friday mornings, I usually fire up Zoom. Sometimes I got stuff going on, but those are good times to catch me. I'm not opposed to meeting in the afternoon with some coordination if it is convenient for both of us. So this is a drawn out way of saying if after you kind of go through the website, you think about some of this kind of stuff, you've got questions, pop into my office hours, this week, send me an email, say you want to meet. Actually, I think it would be smart for all of y'all to pop into my office hours at some point, 5 minutes. It might not even take 5 minutes. And just say, hey, Professor Martin, I'm so-and-so. I'm in your medieval history course. You told me I should pop in here and introduce myself. I'll take it from there. That couple of minutes of connection there will make any issues that you have in the past, just so much easier to deal with. So anyway, I hope you guys are excited about this as I am. Don't mess around. Get your books. History is a reading sport. That's the way it is. And having said that, all right, I guess it's time to get medieval. Enjoy your historical studies, and I will see you soon.